Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Mr. Myo Min, and today, I'm going to walk you through a topic that is both fundamental to international law and critically relevant to our world today: the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, or ICCPR, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, the ICESCR. My aim today is not just to define these documents, but to demonstrate how they form a powerful legal framework for both protecting human rights and, crucially, defending a nation's sovereignty and domestic peace. The International Bill of Human Rights. To understand these two covenants, we must first look at their foundation, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR. Adopted in 1948, the UDHR was a landmark document that outlined fundamental rights for everyone. However, it was a declaration, not a legally binding treaty. To give these rights legal teeth, the international community created the ICCPR and the ICESCR. These two documents are legally binding treaties that obligate states to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights for their citizens. Together with the UDHR, they form what we call the International Bill of Human Rights. The ICCPR, Civil and Political Freedoms. Let's begin with the ICCPR. Its full name is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It is also known as State Citizen Rights and Political International Agreement Treaty. Its core principle is to guarantee fundamental human rights and freedoms for individuals. It focuses on what we call negative rights, meaning it obligates governments to refrain from interfering with individual freedoms. The ICCPR provides essential protections for the right to life and personal security, freedom from torture and slavery, the right to a fair trial, and critically, freedoms of thought, conscience, religion, and expression. It's an essential document, but it's important to note that Myanmar has not yet ratified the ICCPR. The ICESCR, Economic, Social, and Cultural Well-being. Next, we have the ICESCR. This is the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. It is also known as State Citizen Economic, Social, and Cultural International Agreement Treaty. Its core principle is to obligate states to progressively realize economic, social, and cultural rights. It focuses on positive rights, meaning it requires states to actively provide for the well-being of their citizens. Key rights protected by the ICESCR include the right to work and fair working conditions, an adequate standard of living, which covers food, clothing, and housing, the right to health, social security, and the right to education. These two covenants are designed to be complementary. Civil and political rights are often necessary to fully enjoy economic and social rights, and vice versa. A critical nuance: covenants and national sovereignty. Now, let's address a critical and often misunderstood aspect of these covenants. As our source text makes clear, they can be invoked to address actions by overseas extremist groups that threaten a nation's sovereignty and domestic peace. The underlying principle here is a crucial one: human rights are not absolute. The covenants themselves state that rights come with responsibilities and can be limited to protect public order, national security, and the rights of others. This means that human rights law is not, and was never intended to be, a shield for those who seek to destabilize a nation. Legal basis for state action. So, how exactly can a state use these covenants to defend itself? First, we have Article 1 of both the ICCPR and the ICESCR, which affirms the right of self-determination. This means a nation's sovereignty is paramount. Any external group attempting to undermine this sovereignty through extremist means is acting in direct violation of this fundamental principle. Next, ICCPR Article 4 allows a state to limit certain rights during a public emergency which threatens the life of the nation. This is a mechanism designed to protect a country's very existence. Furthermore, ICESCR Article 5 prohibits any group or individual from engaging in activities that aim to destroy or unduly limit the rights recognized in the covenant. This provides a legal basis to counter extremist groups that incite violence or spread hatred. Taking action: the abuse of rights. Beyond these general principles, the covenants provide specific tools. For example, while the ICCPR protects freedoms of religion, expression, and assembly, these freedoms are not limitless. ICCPR Article 20 is particularly relevant. It states, any advocacy of national, racial or religious hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility or violence shall be prohibited by law. If overseas extremist groups exploit human rights principles to incite violence or spread hate speech, their actions can be considered a clear violation of this article. This gives a state the legal ground to take measures against them. The term, Rohingya, and sovereignty. Let's apply this to the specific example mentioned in our text. The legal recognition of a state's own population is a matter of its sovereignty. If overseas extremist groups use a term like Rohingya to challenge a nation's sovereignty, incite ethnic or religious hatred, or promote a secessionist agenda, their actions are not protected under human rights law. In fact, these actions can be addressed under provisions like ICCPR Article 20. The covenants do not protect activities that threaten a state's territorial integrity or domestic peace. Instead, they provide a framework for states to act in accordance with their domestic laws to protect their sovereignty and the peaceful coexistence of their citizens. In closing, the ICCPR and ICESCR are not just about guaranteeing basic human rights. They are a robust legal framework that also recognizes a state's legitimate interest in protecting its sovereignty and maintaining domestic peace. These covenants provide states with the legal grounds to take action against groups, particularly overseas extremist ones, that threaten national security by abusing human rights principles. They empower governments to protect their citizens from incitement to violence and hatred, upholding the fundamental principles of peaceful coexistence and self-determination. Thank you for your attention.